I never doubted that equal rights was the right direction. Most problems are complicated, but to me, there is nothing complicated about ordinary equality. Alice Paul. Gender does not decide your worth. Alice Paul's Fight by Lauren Michels and Maddie Storie. Alice had already known from the beginning that gender equality was a topic that she cared about and wanted to make a difference in. Before the works of Maya Angelou, the rule of Margaret Thatcher, or the influence of Hillary Clinton, brave women must have first pioneered the cause of women's rights, enabling a nation run by men to see incredible advantages and additional richness that could be had by a culture that included women as equals in the determination of its destiny. Alice Paul was a leader in the suffrage movement, and her legacy gave women the equality they deserve. Alice Paul never ceased to give up in her fight for women's equality. No matter how impossible something may have seemed, she always stood her ground. Alice Stokes Paul was born in Morristown, New Jersey, January 11, 1885, 7 years after the women's suffrage amendment had been introduced to Congress. William, Henry, and Perry were her 3 younger siblings. She was raised as a Quaker with the beliefs that women and men are both to be treated equally. Alice was very studious growing up, graduating first in her class at Hicksite in Morristown. Paul attended Swarthmore College, which was founded by her grandfather. Following, she went to the University of Pennsylvania, and finally, she attended a training school in Woodbridge for Quakers. Through the years 1907 to 1910, Paul stayed in England, where she was a social worker and officially started supporting women's rights. She also worked as an apprentice to Emmeline and Christabel Pankhurst. After Paul returned to America, she again attended the University of Pennsylvania, where she then earned her PhD in sociology. Paul was first introduced to the women's rights movement in Paulsdale, New Jersey. Paul was originally inspired by Emmeline and Christabel, who were also feminists in England, fighting for gender equality at the time. Alice was first introduced to the pair when she personally witnessed Emmeline being escorted off stage by a police officer as she gave an equal rights speech. Because Alice was raised with the belief that all sexes are equal, she never had doubts that this was a worthy cause. Once Paul became involved, she immediately participated in local protests while she was still overseas in England. Her participation in the fights caused her to be jailed multiple times in Scotland and England. However, Alice never lost hope or gave up. She even found ways to protest when she was imprisoned by refusing to eat. Knowing this would create a bad public image, the law enforcement responded by force-feeding Paul. The punishment was very painful, as someone held a towel around her neck, while someone else put a tube through her nostril where liquefied food was sent through, causing the food to reach her stomach in a very cruel manner. Once Alice returned from England, she continued to fight for women's rights. Paul was jailed again several times in America because of her constant determination and devotion to equal rights. Paul's fortitude gave her the drive to push through anything society threw at her. Alice recalled from her childhood being told, "When you put your hand to the plow, you can't put it down until you get to the end of the rope," which raised her as one to never stop or give up until a job was done. Throughout her entire life, almost everything she did was dedicated to supporting and changing gender equality, and she would have done anything for this. Paul had not only the power, but also the mindset to organize nonviolent pickets, protests, in speeches along with other public events that brought attention to the cause of women's rights. Paul left an immense impact on our society today, dealing with feminine equality even after her death in 1977. At age 92, shortly before her death, Alice claimed, "I think if we get freedom for women, then they are going to do a lot of things that I wish they wouldn't do. But it seems to me that it isn't our business to say what they should do with it. It is our business to see that they get it." Today, her legacy lives through the Alice Paul Institute in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, where all of her hard work and accomplishments are displayed throughout the museum. Paul fought towards the idea that all women should be considered equal to men. Her determination, devotion, loyalty, and ambition were only a few reasons as to why her life was so successful. She led the National Women's Party and never ceased to convince our humanity that women are just as good as men. Alice Paul paved the way for many women today, such as Oprah Winfrey, Amelia Earhart, Lucille Ball, Marilyn Monroe, and J.K. Rowling, who would have never had the opportunity to make a name for themselves without the help of Alice. Alice Paul proved to thousands that gender does not decide your worth and that women can accomplish just as much as men. After all, Paul taught us the right to vote was just the beginning.